Okay, so this is a little bit of an update. So last time I left off, as I mentioned to you, we were trying to get the motor started, and starter just spun. So we're thinking that maybe the starter messed up or had to be rebuilt. So I pulled the starter out, had it rebuilt, it's all brand new now. Put the starter back in. As you can see, even on my teeth, everything was fine. Contact and everything was good. There was no problem with that. That hasn't even been changed. But anyway, put it back in, and it just spun. And so that means either obviously your starter's messed up, but it wasn't because we know it's brand new. But then I reached inside. Actually, I took a picture inside the little hole that the starter goes into. Realized that the teeth on the flywheel was chipped out. Now, it was chipped out in quite a few places. As you can see, that's a fresh chip. Spin it around. You get over here. There's more teeth missing. Actually, that one's about to break. And it just kept going. These chipped out. And these are all fresh. That happened probably that day or whatever. So, from what I remember, and I was told, that's a timing issue with the motor, and it's constantly pushing back because of the compression and everything being off inside the cylinder, and it pushed back against how the starter was working, and then you get chip out like that. So anyway, if I remember correctly, I think it was in this spot here. It was just spinning, so obviously it wouldn't make contact, and the thing would just spin around. So that meant that I had to pull the clutch out. Well, in a Porsche, you can't just drop the tranny. You got to drop the entire motor, and that's where I am. So I ended up getting or having to replace the entire clutch assembly. So now we got a new starter, we got a new clutch. Now, my clutch is a little bit different. This is the original pressure plate from Porsche. It's nice and thick. The way you know that they're nice and cool. I've got a nice thickness right there. It's not thin. This is thin. You see that? So that can't be resurfaced, just so you know. Maybe like a tortilla. So there's no more meat left on this one. So that was a wrap. Okay, so got a new one. Like I said, got some nice thickness on there, and can be resurfaced if I had to. You can see the hot spots on this too. Shit was getting hot. And let's see, I don't know where my old flywheel is, because my flywheel was pretty hot too. You know what? It's still in the car actually. So took the flywheel off too. It was equally as burned, had some hot spots in it. But that's due to having a ceramic clutch. Now, some people have Kevlar. Kevlar heats up, and I understand can stick to either side, either the clutch or the pressure plate. Can kind of create some issues. I have sometime ended up in traffic since I'm here in California, here in LA. That can kind of be an issue, or you waiting in line to park, whatever the hell. So I always liked my ceramic clutch. I've had a puck in my car that was way too aggressive. That was with a 4-speed. It was just ridiculous. Took it up to Monterey, and as soon as I came back, I yanked it out of the car and then went with this disc. This disc now has been resurfaced. It's all brand new. It wasn't that bad, but the difference between having a ceramic and a Kevlar clutch is that the ceramic is a little bit more aggressive, but it does not heat up. So it actually works almost like your ceramic brakes. They work well when they're heated up. So if I'm in traffic or if I'm racing in the canyons or whatever I'm doing, it's actually going to grab, and I'm not going to have any slipping. However, the caveat behind that, it is a little bit aggressive on your other parts, your flywheel and your actual clutch itself, or the pressure plate. But I like that combination. I went with it. They're a little bit, I think they're like $100. Well, this cost me $100 for resurfacing. But if you want to do a ceramic disc, they can get up there. They can be like $400 or $380 or something like that. So they can be kind of pricey. But I like my combination. So new flywheel. So I am good to go. So now I'm ready to go in. Took me a minute to get the throwout bearing. Also, that was the other thing too. So my throwout bearing on my old clutch was bad. Now, this is what annoys me. You can hear it. Like the bearings in there, that ain't happy at all, right? And I was actually told by somebody 30 years in the game, it's no big deal. Go ahead and run it. I'd run it. I'd put it back in. And my clutch guy was like, are you kidding me? So to spend this kind of money and redo everything and not replace that bearing, which is only I paid $140 for it, was stupid. So new, quiet. That thing old, new. Yeah. So if you're doing this at home, you want to make sure that when you put this in, I use wood clamps. But you got to have a clamp to clamp it down. I put it on the edge of the table, just like how the flywheel and the clutch plate is here. I put a little piece of wood in the center, so that way I put pressure on the throwout bearing, like so. And then I put clamps, wood clamps, on the 3 points at the end of the table. The table held the 4th point and pressed it down. So that way this presses up, and then you can put the center ring in here, and this outer ring, and then a center ring to lock it in, the locking ring. So that's how I did it here at home, opposed to driving all the way back to the clutch spot and having them put it on the machine and do it. So that is now done. Clutch is ready to go in. Don't ever forget your lining up tool. You want to make sure that it is proper for the clutch plate. So that's perfect. But you always want to make sure you have one of these. Don't try to improvise, because if everything in here is off, then it's going to wear weird, and then you have some issues. So always make sure you have your alignment tool, and got that. Now, torquing down your bolts. Torquing down your bolts on the outside, which is going to be these little guys. That's going to be 24 pounds. 24 pounds for these guys. Or whatever bolts you get, they typically will outline how much torque pressure they can take. On the inside, on the flywheel, on the little itty bitty guys here, we're supposed to be 75 pounds. So again, check your torque amount on the bolts that you have, and make sure you don't put too much pressure on them. Obviously, they'll snap them off. That's going to be a whole nother nightmare to get them out. But that is what you want to do for the inside. So at this point, I'm ready to get back in the game, put everything back together. I think I left off with working on my hood. So my hood, I originally wanted to put aluminum here, as I mentioned. I went ahead and fabricated it in with carbon fiber. So it's carbon fiber throughout, and I have everything cleared out and lined up for everything to be cut down there for the hole. So just haven't done it yet, but I did order my oil cooler and also the fans. So I figured I would wait, do all my measurements, because I'm not into cutting and then doing something different later. So again, I also see that part down there. So I was pointing at to you in the last video. That's what I designed for the air to be funneled down. The floors right there is where you can see, but that's a big hole. So that way the air funnels underneath the car. Now, again, I'm going to set this up whereas I can still use that and then still create a door or a block off to block this off should I ever want to run my original hood. And that way the air from the intercooler, which is going to be on this side, and then the fans can blow air underneath the car, and so everything is enclosed. But for whatever reason, I can't imagine being back in this situation. But at this point, the air induction will be coming through from the front of the bumper, through this hole, through that hole, and then out. And that is that's the plan. So that's my update. I am looking forward to getting this clutch in as soon as possible, so that way we can get back in the game with getting the car fired up.